everyone. Welcome to another Happy Pod with
Nathan, you broke tradition. Ben intros. Ben intros when he's here.
Wait, let's just start over. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Happy Pod, the show where I do the intro whenever I'm the guest. This is a podcast where we talk about movies, pop culture things adjacent. Try to putting a happy spin on it, but not this time where it's going to be purely positive, because holy shit. I'm joined by Lawrence and Nathan.
Hello, everyone. How are we all doing?
I'm very tired.
I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous, Ben?
I'm nervous because we're talking about this fucking movie.
Are you scared of this movie?
Overwhelming.
Does this movie...
I am a little scared of this movie.
Okay.
It spooks me that someone could make this and have it be so good. I'm generally hesitant to talk about my favorite movies, and being as this is maybe, I think, my favorite film of the year, you know, that puts a lot of pressure on yourself to defend why it's your favorite thing and try and summon it up and explaining it, even when you don't fully understand it.
I can relate to that, especially the not understanding part, because I am fresh off watching this movie, like within 20 minutes or so, fresh off watching this movie, and oh boy, it's well, there's stuff to talk about, certainly. Lawrence, you have been praising this movie since the day it came out, and you haven't shut up about it for the past 10 months or whatever. So you must be pretty excited right now.
It's an exciting time to talk about it. I think, especially it's heavy in people's minds. It just got somehow 11 Oscar nominations, but it's
somehow. So you don't like it?
No, I do, but it's not the type of thing the Oscars typically put forward. I'm in the same boat as Ben. I really like this. I'm not sure I fully understand it. I'm excited to explore it, and I also think there's no possible way I can do it justice, because I don't know if I get it.
I definitely do not understand it. So I'm just going to throw that out there straight away, okay? There's no ambiguity with me, okay? I know there's a deeper meaning to it. I know that. What that deeper meaning is, I haven't figured it out. Yeah, maybe between the three of us we can crack it.
Well, before we do that, I actually have a question for both of you. So Nathan, hit me with that lovely thing.
So you have...
another happy question. You're done tooting, I do. I can barely hear the theme, which we've changed our audio setup this week, so I may have just interrupted it.
You did it, and it's fine.
Okay, thank God. Less editing. Basically, in this movie, we are treated to a plethora of alternate selves and multiversal skills. And I'd like to think I know both of you fairly well, but I would like to see what you two think the craziest alternate version of yourself would be doing, or what skill you would be possessing in another multiverse somewhere, another universe. Could you be the world's best chef? Could you be like an award-winning dancer? I don't know. What is the craziest thing that you think is not too far removed from the realm of possibility, but also something that I don't think you would ever do in real life? Does that make sense?
Not even a little bit.
What is the most reasonable out there thing that Lawrence might not suspect that we would be possibly doing in another life?
Yeah. If you're new here, that's what I do. I typically ask a question at the start of every episode, and these two will have the whole time we're recording to think of their answers, so tune back in later on or remain tuned to hear what they have to say and what their answers will be. Where do we want to start with this?
I think I would like to know from Nathan what you think the story was. What do you think? What happens in Everything Ever All at Once?
You've just Sundayed him.
Yeah, I'm Sundaying you.
Oh no. What do I think the story was? Okay, so Michelle Yeoh runs a laundromat with her family. They're getting audited by the IRS because they owe taxes, because America's tax system is a hellscape or something. And then when they're going to do taxes, her husband becomes a husband from another reality, another universe, the multiverse. And then he tells her he needs her help for some reason. And then everything fucking goes nuts. And then it's just relentless. Just jumping and fighting, but not fighting. And then I don't know what the story was. There was so much story, and and metaphors and hot dogs and butt plugs and rocks, and there was so much stuff, and I'm sure it all meant something. But I don't know what it was. I don't know what the story
For the viewers at home, the listeners at home, Nathan squinted through the entirety of that rant.
It was quite painful to watch all the thoughts formulated. You were trying to find a way to bring it together, and it just wasn't landing.
Yes.
All right, similar question, Nathan. Not what the story was, because I know I texted Ben after I watched this for the first time, and I told him how I felt, and he felt similar. From what I can remember, he said he felt similar. Did you have any sort of strong, particular emotional reaction to watching this?
How do you mean? Like, did it make me cry, or
What resonated with you?
Yeah.
I feel like I should before I get into that. I feel like I should probably say, I as I mentioned, I watched this movie for the first time today. I hadn't seen it before. I'd heard pretty much nothing but good things about it for the past 10 months or so. If I'm honest, I'd heard from pretty much everyone who spoke about this movie that it was the best thing ever, that it was basically the second coming of Christ, that it was one of the greatest movies ever made. And I think that did it a bit of a disservice to me, because I was expecting like the Citizen Kane of... I've never seen Citizen Kane. It's probably shit. But I was expecting something holier than thou. And then I don't know what I just watched, as I just mentioned. So I'm not sure how I feel. It's good. It's a good movie. It's a very enjoyable kind of way to spend 2 hours. And I did have fun watching it. How did it emotionally resonate with me? See, this is the thing. See, like I said, it's trying to say something, and it's probably successful at saying something. But I don't know what it's saying, though. This is the thing. I feel like the whole thing is some kind of metaphor about parenthood and learning to let go, but also not letting go and staying part of a family unit, but also giving them space to be them, but also not doing that. So I don't know. I'm not a parent. I'm barely a kid. I'm barely a child to a parent. So like, I don't know.
I have one more question before
Okay.
we'll start talking. But I wonder which character resonated with you the most?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Probably Jamie Lee Curtis. She was very angry and just wanted to punch everyone.
That's so funny. Well, okay, I'll say just as part of a read of this, I think that the structure of this movie is one of those films where the characters are pillars, where each character represents an idea and is a strong point of view that interrogates one overall concept. Mm-hmm. And so which character you respond to, I think, communicates something that you got out of it. So that's a way for me to lead into that. So having thought about that, I'd love to know.
Out of everyone, and it's probably easier because she is essentially the main character, but Michelle Yeoh was... I don't know. I can't give you a straight reason why, because, again, I don't know. But for some reason, I would say I would relate to her the most in terms of what's going on. Probably because she's obviously very confused for a lot of this movie, and that's relatable. But she's also someone, who she clearly loves her family, her husband, her daughter, her father, but she also struggles with that love as well. She struggles with loving her family. She struggles with her family, and I feel like everyone can relate to that. So that's something.
So I would like to start by saying that me and the Daniels have never really gotten along. They made Swiss Army Man.
Oh,
which
the
kind of
Harry Potter
makes
farting
sense
movie.
if you've seen it.
Dead Harry Potter fart movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I watched that movie a while ago, and I remember being like, wow, I'm so glad somebody made this, but I didn't feel like an emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
Partly because they work in a lot of absurdity in their filmmaking. And I think what really serves this film is that absurdity... The absurdity of the form is baked into the text of the story. So they work harmoniously. The absurdity of it feeds into its themes on, let's say, nihilism, and combating existential dread.
Yeah.
And that to me is really what makes it super effective, and why I think it's reached more people than Swiss Army Man did. And I personally I know the Oscars sort of are their whole thing, but I genuinely feel this like deserves Best Picture as far as the time it was made, the resources that were like the small amount of resources that were given to it, the sheer creativity and also the story of these sort of legendary Hollywood stars that have kind of have some sort of comeback. Like I think that this is the kind of thing that the Oscars deserves to honor as far as cultural impact. Not necessarily the best film of the year. I don't know I have no way of judging that.
It's unusual, isn't it? Because I was when I first watched it, I was in a similar boat to Nathan. I think it 100% benefits from seeing it twice, definitely. But like again, it's one of the movies where it took me about 10 months to go back and watch it again, like because it's such a it's a whole lot of movie. To quote James, who mentioned it when he guested on our 100th special, he said, "I think there comes to a point where you might think you're too old for movies," and I resonate with that quite a lot. It's the equivalent of throwing so many ideas at a wall, but for me, they all land. I don't think I'm smart enough to have picked up on every single thing that they've presented or everything that they were putting forward, because the point about pillars is absolutely bang on, because everyone represents something different, and they all kind of, the way they integrate with each other is they're all of their relationships matter in different ways to different people, and it's such a fucking maze of a script to like work out. Like it's not just dialing in on one theme. It's like nihilism and like nothing matters, or does the other flip of the coin, the yin and yang of it, of always like does everything matter because nothing matters, and it's heavy. It's very heavy. And I think dialing in on it a second time round, I didn't get confused more. I zeroed in on shit more, but I found more things to be confused by as well. So, like, I'm going to have to go for round 3 at some point, but I don't know when the fuck that'll be.
I mean, I think, like, the second viewing adds so much because the first viewing is literally overwhelming. It's throwing so much information, and the sheer visual noise that it's throwing at you, it's really hard to kind of process it. So it's not even like because there's a twist and turn, it'll make you see the whole movie another way because you know the ending. It's like, no, you're actually processing it, able to process it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some themes if you want me to throw out, Nathan,
sure,
that I've sort of responded to, that I've kind of spent some time thinking about it, but I'm nervous to talk about it. But
this is a safe space, Ben. Bring it forward.
Yeah. So I think that this film is about combating Gen Z's toxic nihilism. That's
okay.
the main core theme. That I think that a generation, more advanced in their freedoms and abilities and resources, just informationally via the internet, gain a sort of, there's something that can snap in you when you're young and you have this much information. And what's facing this current generation is a true understanding of how our systems are all controlling us, how little power we have, but also the like unbelievable variety of things that you can do because you can do anything.
Yeah,
you can really there's very little limitation on what you can pursue as far as like a career or a life, and it leaves a lot of Gen Z grasping for like some sense of identity. I think that's what it represents, if it's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's a really relevant movie as for this point. What do you think about that, Nathan?
Great, thanks, Ben. I can actually see that, especially with the character of Joy, Michelle Yeoh's daughter and stuff. She is definitely quite nihilistic about a lot of stuff, and someone who has the power that she has, the power to traverse multiverses at the click of a finger. Not even just instantaneously be in another universe, to turn someone in front of her into confetti or dildos or literally whatever she can think up in her mind. She can do literally fucking anything. And then because of that, she wants to die, I think. Is she, because of everything is presented to her on a silver platter, it's just like, but okay, but I've done everything now, so like what else is there? It's meaningless, essentially.
Yeah.
You've given me everything, but in doing so, that means there's nothing left to give me. There's nothing to strive towards. There's nothing to to live for, basically. So
that's what the everything bagel is. It's when you put she has everything handed to her on a platter, like you said, and then she puts all of that on a bagel, one singular object, and it results in this profound realization that if I can fit everything into there, if I'm a god, then what she ends up realizing is that then nothing matters.
I can see what the Daniels? Yeah, I can see what the Daniels are saying with that, because of these fucking things, we do have literally everything in our pocket. We can do so much shit with this. I'm holding up a phone, by the way.
It's a phone for the audio listeners.
Yeah. I just realized this is an audio podcast. Because of these, we can do so much shit. We can do fucking anything that we couldn't do 10, 15 years ago. And how many times are you just sat throughout the day bored, just trying to think of stuff to do, and you're just like, well, what can I do, really? And it's just, it's insane when you think about it. So... that's
there you go. You connect with this movie.
I did it. I figured it out.
I think they're definitely saying something by Michelle Yeoh's character. The mother, Evelyn, is obviously quite a little bit older than her daughter Joy, and she strives to make something more of her life. She feels like she's gotten to this point. She's made it's quite literally said to her in kind of a brutal fashion, every single disappointing choice that an Evelyn could have made, you've made, and it's led you to be the least impressive version of yourself out of fucking millions of versions of yourself. And there's definitely something in her trying to strive to experience something different. There's moments in this where like she kind of snaps back to her reality, and she'd literally rather be fighting someone with dildos than having to speak about her emotions and divorce papers with her husband. She's like, no, take me back to the fight. Like she'd rather be there than actually having to confront shit she puts off in her own life just to feel like she hasn't become a complete failure. And then the flip of that is Joy, who is handed everything, like we said about the bagel, and has the opportunity to see so much, but doesn't know how to fill the time, because when you have everything, you also essentially have, like Nathan said, there's nothing more to gain. It's an interesting juxtaposition in the sense that she has a lovely quote in this. I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, but it's something along the lines of everyone everywhere is always begging for your attention, so you can never be 100% committed to one thing. It's really interesting to me that for Evelyn, the world is so quiet and dull, and for Joy, it's so overwhelmingly loud. And both of them have just ended up in the exact same place for it. They both feel just completely emotionally and I guess mentally understimulated and like underwhelmed by what life has to offer for them, despite one of them having everything and one of them having nothing. And it's why I guess Joy succumbs so quickly to everything until the emotional pillar of the film, in my opinion, Waymond, brings out his excellent, I'm not naive to the complexities of life. It's just a tactical choice that I make to be a good person. Like, how crazy is that in this world? That someone tries to be nice. It's mental.
I've never felt so seen. Like, that was like really spooky to me to watch. Because I've always felt like
Ben's a nice guy. Everyone, Ben's one of those nice guys.
Like not kindness so much, because I do struggle with that, but more optimism, a kind of like flippant joy at things is sort of like how I have conducted a lot of myself, like growing up, and a lot of people sort of sometimes seem to view that as foolish. That if you're happy, then you must not be smart, or you're super privileged, which could be fair.
Well, like, you're not emotionally switched on just because you attempt to see the good. Like, glass half full is being dumb and naive.
It's putting blinders on to the top half of the glass.
Yeah.
That's sort of, and sort of that idea of like, no, this is a calculated decision. Like my answer to maybe nothing matters has been, well, then everything matters. Just that's always been an instinctual thing that I've grown up with. But it struggles because I struggle with it because of how the difficulty to rationalize it to people who don't feel that way. And so when he made that speech, when Waymond makes that speech, I was just like, oh God, like, like it was spooky, because it's not something I've ever thought about, but to see that portrayed really gave me a spooky moment. #spooky. And it was very self-gratifying to have that be the reason that the solution to everything was, Ben, you know the way you are, you're right. It's like, damn it.
The directors reached out of the frame and went, "Good job, Ben.
Yeah.
You're one of the good ones." Yeah. Nathan,
Anyways.
a question I have for you, because me and Ben are both on the second viewing. You're obviously having fresh out of a first viewing. Right, keep in mind, this movie, it's A24. It had a reasonable budget. I don't want to say something like, I think it was like 90 million. That's no small sum of money.
No, that's
Was it 9? No way.
I'm fairly certain it was fairly small. Yeah, double check that.
I thought it was 9 million.
If that was 9 million, then I'll be fucking gobsmacked.
Hang on. Oh, it was $25 million.
Holy
25
damn.
million. Pennies.
Okay.
Oh my
mate.
God.
So Nathan, keep in mind this movie was kind of, I guess that's like for modern day movies, for movies to have done as well as this one has, that's a shoestring budget. And given that this reached so far, like so many people saw this movie, and I don't even think it had a massive marketing push. It was just a lot of it was word of mouth, and then once they realized the word of mouth traction was picking up.
I don't think I ever saw a single trailer, ad, or even like on fucking Twitter or TikTok or anything, an ad for this movie. Literally everything I've heard about it has been from word of mouth.
With all of that in mind, the question I have for you, it's not even that interesting, I suppose. It's how accessible do you think this is? Yeah, I struggle with that one.
When you would say accessible, just give me a quick rundown.
When I first viewed this, to me, it got to a point where I found the emotional, like we've been talking about, the overall points and thesis of the movie, I found so overwhelming that there came an actual point in the movie I went, I'm not going to get this time round. I'm just not.
Yes.
Like, there is no point me holding on to this because I can't grasp it. I don't have the tools to grasp it yet. I need to understand more. And I think that's because the plot it wastes absolutely zero time, because Waymond comes in, he's like, there's more of you, we're doing this, the world is fucked, all the worlds are fucked, move on. But I guess my accessible point is, in terms of when you break it down to its core simplicities, like with the relationship with Evelyn, Joy, Waymond, do you think that there is enough here on a first viewing to make it not too overwhelming, to zero in on, if that makes sense?
So, Tenet, Christopher Nolan, is a movie that I do not enjoy, and I've mentioned it many times. I don't.
Stay tuned, listeners. We have not transitioned to a different episode. We are still on this episode.
A large part of why I don't like it is because I don't think it's accessible at all. I think it's my personal opinion is it's a movie which tries, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's a movie which tries too hard to be intelligent. It tries too hard to confuse its audience rather than just presenting something that they can, sink their teeth into and enjoy. It tries to one-up them and make them feel less intelligent, basically. That's how I see that movie anyway. This is an intelligent movie, and it does also make you feel confused, but I wouldn't say that it's inaccessible like Tenet is. To be honest, I wouldn't say that it's inaccessible at all, because I think there's a lot you can find within this movie and have fun with. Even the stupid shit like fucking dudes trying to shove butt plugs up their ass. Like, who's not going to enjoy that? Like, who's watching this and not having the time of their lives, okay? Because yes, it is intelligent and emotional and deep and thought-provoking and all this stuff, but it's also incredibly fucking silly, and it's giving you good stupid things to laugh at and all that stuff. So I would say that it is quite accessible in that sense, in a lot of sense really, because you get in a touch of everything with this. You get in sci-fi with the multiverse shit. You get in good fun comedy with the dicks and butt plugs and all this shit. You're getting a really heartfelt, emotional story.
The pillars of comedy are dicks and butt plugs.
Yeah, you're getting so much in a single package, really. So yeah, I would say it's accessible.
What was your first viewing like, Ben?
My first viewing was a sheer emotional, overwhelming experience. Like I didn't fully understand how the mechanics worked. I didn't really get how the ending happened, but the the visual representation of what was going on emotionally was very resonant with me.
Yeah.
So I wept, sorry. And then I walked out and I felt like I could see other universes, which is one of my favorite elements of some of these sci-fi stories. When you feel like you've gained the power, when it like raises your awareness level,
Yeah.
you know, like it shows you something from a perspective and you're like, oh, I see the world differently now.
Yeah.
I lived in that for a bit afterwards, and then yet I felt too scared to go back because it's spooky, and even this time I did have to pause the movie at a certain point because the way that Evelyn falls into the nihilism, I was just like, I need a drink. So I went to go to a bar, had a margarita, I shit you not, and then I went back and I finished the movie. I just like, it's so visceral in the way and unflinching in the way it explores these emotions.
I love how you would just like you left your house to go to a bar.
Yeah. And so but on the second viewing I really started to understand the mechanics, and so I've actually been able to enjoy it more on a intellectual level as well, and as a structural level.
Yeah.
But as far as like whether or not I received, I think the emotional core of it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think because that rose above any sort of, like, I'm good at turning kind of my brain off if I need to. And this is one where I didn't need to, but I also needed to at the same time because of how overwhelming it is.
Yeah, I think there's an element of it which is very much like, I think you can view it the first time in two ways. Well, firstly, you can be incredibly smart and get it. Because, like they wrote this. It's in someone's mind fully formed. Like, they know everything in it. I feel like, yeah, you can either access it from a simple plot perspective, or you can, like Ben said, kind of turn off the desire to understand every plot mechanic and then just kind of let the emotions take you. I was I didn't. This sounds so I love films and I'm wanky, but like
there we go.
No, but I like genuinely. I think I spoke to you after this, Ben. I didn't have the words to describe it. I was honestly just like, I have no fucking idea what that was. But it feels so heavy on me right now. Once you get over the initial, fuck, this is heavy. Like, what did you dial in on that you were a big fan of?
I love Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh has always been one of my favorite actors because she's so good in anything that she's in. Even that terrible Brexit Christmas movie that you love. She's great in that as well.
Okay.
Is a movie called Last Christmas. It's about Brexit and Christmas, and Lawrence loves it for some reason.
It's fun. It's
Wait, is that the one with what's her name?
Emilia
Daenerys?
Clarke.
yeah.
Wait, does Michelle Yeoh play Henry Golding's mother again?
No.
Okay. Jesus.
No, they so she's like, I mean, we've done an episode on it, but I think that was when our audio quality was fucking arse, so feel free to ignore it. But it's it's she plays a character called Santa who like runs a novelty Christmas shop, and for some reason the music the movie is kind of set to the soundtrack of Wham. And not to spoil it, but it basically takes one lyric from a Wham song and goes, "We found the plot of the movie."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Very strange,
All right.
but yeah. Sorry, Nathan, go on.
So I love Michelle Yeoh. She is truly incredible in this. It's shot really well. There's it's a beautiful looking movie, and especially for it's $25 million. It's not a short amount of money at all. But these days, I don't think that necessarily gets you far in terms of VFX and that sort of stuff. But somehow this still looks incredible. Don't get me wrong; it's not CGI fucking heavy or anything. But I guess it's editing more than anything, but the shots of her like hopping between the universes and everything like that, the quick montages and transitions, all looks fucking sublime. The humor's really good. It's ridiculous and absurd and stupid, but I like that. I'm a big fan of Aunty Donna for a reason, because that's what they are. So yeah, I loved all that.
That's the YouTube equivalent of this movie. Is Aunty Donna.
Yeah. I think the joke which I loved the most was like the recurring thing about Raccoon-y, as in not
Raccoonie?
Ratatouille, yeah, Raccoonie, instead of Ratatouille. And then there's a universe where that's actually a fucking thing. There's the chef with the fucking raccoon under his hat. That fucking killed me. That was so funny. And that guy was on Glee as well, so that's great. That's always good to see.
Good to see him.
What else did I enjoy? And again, just the emotional heart of it all. Although I didn't fully understand it, and there's some dots which I still need to connect, and I definitely need to watch it again at some point. You still get the sense of the emotion. You still know there's shit going on that you can react to and have a connection with. And so yeah, definitely all the stuff with Joy and Michelle Yeoh was really good to see.
I think it's, as far as like the technical work on this, it's just cracked. Like
Yeah.
and this is what's almost like frustrating artistically and also scary about it, is just how can you do this?
Yeah.
Like I've this is stuff that I've wanted to see in film for so long, and I've never seen it at this like level of quality and care, and the fact that you can jump from so many universes and each one is fleshed out with its own production design, like, blew my mind. I think that's one of my biggest snubs for this movie, is that it didn't get a nom for production design.
Yeah,
I'm really annoyed.
It's gonna take the cake for everything else, but like that is such a deserving category for it, and it just wasn't there. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that house in the Hot Dog Fingers universe, like, geez, that house is so, that could be that looked like the set of The Father. Like, you just, you know,
Yeah.
you just, okay, you made The Father. Wow, like,
This is such a fucking undertaking, because from the Daniels are, or just Daniels, which is so weird to say in sentence.
Yeah.
Daniels are known for this, but they're known mostly from the Harry Potter farting movie, like we spoke about, the Dead Harry Potter farting movie, and also like some short that they put on YouTube where one of them like does a prank. Both the directors are in this short, Nathan. I don't know if you've seen it. And one of the Daniels goes to like fart on the other Daniel's face while he's asleep. And the other Daniels wakes up, kicks him in the arse, and then the rest of the short film is about him slowly being sucked into the arse of the other Daniels.
Oh my god.
And like it gets to the point where like he is like basically neck out of his arsehole, and he's like, "Don't, no, help me!" Like it's fucking, it's insane. But what I think is crazy about this is this is such, like, to go from that to this is such a fucking heavy undertaking. They clearly got their shit right, and I love the fact that they're known for doing silly things, but they play that stupidity and absurdity with such a sincere backbone to it. Like they don't let the comedy of it undermine the emotional impact, because like the alternate universe with the Hot Dog Fingers, where Jamie Lee Curtis's character and Evelyn are like together or married, I guess. Like they come home and like she's using her feet to play a fucking what's the name of that song, Ben? The classical song.
oh, Claire de Lune.
Yeah, that she's using her fucking feet and her toes to play Claire de Lune, and she's like, "Play something for me," and it's a fucking sweet moment, and I cried at someone playing the piano with their feet. Like I just think it takes a serious level of fucking skill to pull that off.
It is very dumb. I just clicked on this guy on IMDb, one of the Daniels, Daniel Scheinert. And he's in the movie, I think. He's the guy who like was getting the BDSM shit done to him.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's it.
the other Daniel is in it as well at some point. I think he
Oh,
gets
is
like
he?
his head melted or something, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's what's so wonderful about this particular movie that's so suited to them, is that the absurdity, it presents itself to be, and it is really funny and wacky and zany, but it uses that to communicate how insane you would go if you saw these things. It takes it almost seriously from a character perspective. Like, part of the plot is that the main character goes insane at a certain point. At you know. And so all the wacky zany stuff that's happening around her all pertain to the infinite possibilities of a multiverse and potential, and that is baked into the story. And that, man, I really don't know how they're going to top this, because with how perfectly suited it is to them and their perspectives and their bleeding hearts and their, you know, love for absurdism and comedy and how much
Yeah.
joy they take in that. It's oh
Quick, just question following on from that. Do they need to go up from this? Do they need to top this? Or is it okay to say,
no, that's true.
this is the premium. Let's just do something else.
Yeah, I feel like if I was them, I'd genuinely feel like, okay, we nailed it. We don't have to worry anymore. Like we've proved it, right? So I just feel like if they are feeling that they have to top this, I fear for them. But you're absolutely right. Like just the fact that it exists is the ultimate victory.
I've just seen that Jenny Slate's character is actually called Big Nose, which is so brutal.
Oof.
Yeah, there's a few personal digs in this as well. Like one of my favorite moments in this is when it's not. I think I used it as like the next time tease of what we were doing in last week's episode. Is when like Evelyn is having such a hard time communicating with Joy, and she goes over and she's like, "Wait, I need to talk to you." And Joy turns around. She's clearly just exhausted. She wants to go home, and Evelyn just blanks and goes, "You need to eat healthier. You're getting fat." And it's just like, the insults are funny, but it also just nails the fact that there's such a family divide. Like, there's just like there is a generational difference in how you speak to like parents, but also just people older than you. Like, I guess you can feel not heard or very much like ignored. And I can't speak to this experience, but it's like. There's definitely an element of immigration in this, and how like
In Asian families in particular, probably.
yeah, and like obviously I'm not going to have any specific fucking take on that, but I think it does communicate very much so that like the what do they call the grandpa? Call him the grandpa. I think it's the safer choice, but I love that it's also it's making such a comment on kind of generational torment and how the parents kind of inflict their own like I guess like burdens of life onto their children, and they strive to want the best for them, but the best can always come with overbearing pressure, and it's not welcomed, and 9 times out of 10 it's like, just let me live my own life. But I love that even across different multiverses, like the grandpa is more willing to kill Joy, or like Jobu Tupaki in other universes. Like it just, I think that's quite layered, but I wondered if you guys, like, I'm sure you picked up on it, but like, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, this sort of, I'm going to take that further, if you don't mind, Nathan.
Please.
And try and blow your mind with the themes of this movie. But for me, I think a huge theme is the idea of crossing generational boundaries. That this sort of main thing that if it, the art and cinema deals in metaphor, it simultaneously is literal what you're seeing, and it also is meant to communicate something else by honing in on something specific. Evelyn has trouble with the fact that her daughter is gay. She just doesn't understand it, doesn't even think that it's real. She even says to her, like, that you're like, "Oh, Jobu Tupaki, that's the reason my daughter thinks she's gay." Which is so funny. But, you can view this sort of sexuality as a spectrum. And when you expand beyond your binary view, then it can feel like entering a multi-dimensional, it's a multi-dimensional feeling where you kind of see that, everyone's like, it's not a concrete set of desires and beliefs and orientations or anything, or identities. It's a massive soup where anyone can be anything.
Yeah.
And so that is a clear way to read multiversal travel. Now, and you can take that even further to the fact that Evelyn discovers her sexual spectrum by going to a universe where she, in fact, is gay, which opens her up to accepting or understanding her daughter.
Yeah.
So essentially, okay, so now here's the big brain shit. So you can view this as I think, Evelyn trying to understand her daughter by becoming like her, right? Her daughter's launched into new ideas, new ways of being that her generation has let her see and observe. and decide what she wants for herself. Evelyn has to open herself up to that, look into other universes, look into other possibilities, see a new way of seeing things as every generation comes up with new philosophies and new ways of seeing the world. And there's always a conflict between that because there's a value in tradition, but tradition is dead if it doesn't have new innovation. So Evelyn swims into the multiverse, becomes open to Joy's new ideas, but when faced with the conclusion of Joy in nihilism, she then comes back with her wisdom and tradition and loyalty, foundations and things that she has learned over her many years of living, that is true older generation wisdom that she gives back to Joy. Evelyn has to go over to Joy's side and see the world in new ways, in ways she doesn't yet fully understand. And then once she does, Joy has to go back to her mom. And that is the generational crossing that we sometimes lack and that we struggle with. And maybe in society, we sort of struggle with in like Tory politics, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot of just frustration at the youths and their crazy ideas. But it's also sort of understanding a value in the older generations when there is actual wisdom there and not just bigotry.
Yeah.
So that's another huge kind of cultural theme that I haven't seen explored so succinctly, and why I think it deserves Best Picture. That's what old people struggle with.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they text weird. You know, there's a lack of understanding of what it is that the younger generations are going through, and it might have to start with the older generation crossing, discovering the new, and then being able to, once you can speak the same language, then you can actually communicate with them and share your wisdom.
So we're fucked then. there's no way every
every
adult on the planet.
Well, that's maybe up to us. That's maybe up to our generation who grew up with the internet, so that we can teach like some of the more meaningful elements of life that we learn along our journey to our kids and who grow up in the internet, and try and make sure that we save them from the bagel. To save your daughter is to understand her first and then hug her, you know. Joy would have never accepted that before, and that beauty of sort of that oh man, what I love about this is that it's not about the multiverse isn't going to get destroyed. The tension is that she's going to kill herself, and we don't want that. You know, it's a singular problem that they're solving, and that makes it so much more meaningful. And the idea that the imagery of just those planets colliding as two people hug each other, that's the meaning of it. That's human connection. That will save us. That will save our generation. That will save our society. Fuck me, this movie.
Here Ben is giving the most beautiful and intelligent and thought-provoking points, and my next thing that I'm gonna say is I almost turned this movie off when it got to the end segment. So
really,
yeah.
Which end?
It's the fake out end, isn't it?
Yeah, the fake out, like the movie ends
the end.
in the cinema. Yeah. And I was like, okay, great. They got me. There was about 30 solid seconds where I was like, that was a weird ending. And also the movie wasn't that long. I thought it was longer.
How emotionally underwhelmed were you when you thought that was the end of the story?
Quite a lot. I was like, that's pretty shit. This is what everyone's been going on about for the past 10 months or whatever. Yeah.
Just an hour of setup to themes and then going, we're done now.
They both killed each other or whatever. I did like the movie that I don't know if it makes any sense at all, but the movie that Michelle Yeoh was watching as a famous woman, as Michelle Yeoh, I guess. Well, not as Michelle Yeoh, but as a famous person was.
You say that one of the multiverse shots is her. One of the multiverse shots.
Crazy Rich Asians premiere.
Yeah. The red carpet for Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. Well, that's just B-roll, though, isn't it? That's just...
Oh, yeah.
Well, they actually initially, fun fact, they wanted her to be named Michelle.
Oh, really?
And Michelle Yeoh fought against that. And so the idea is that if she's Michelle Yang, I think is... Yeah, so her name would be Michelle Yang. And sort of this idea that she married into someone else's last name, but she is actually, like, her name is Michelle Yeoh. So, and Michelle Yeoh fought against that. Michelle was like, listen... If we make this about me, then it can't be about everyone anymore. So we have to create a new character. Give me a new name or I'm walking away from the project. Good. That was like a hard line she drew.
Yeah.
I love her.
And then it becomes a true immigrant story in that way.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, true. Again, again adds to the specificity of the character, which makes you care about them more, and also is kind of a little metaphor for those things of when you're an immigrant, you travel to a new country, you think about what if, you think about the life you left behind. Like, it's so integrated. This movie's very integrated to itself.
Nathan, what do you think of the two, I would say, main leads, at least for the kind of first half, and then it kind of switches to Evelyn and Joy. But everything the movie's doing with Evelyn and Wayman's relationship, like, what do you make of all that stuff?
It's sad, and it's sweet, and it's beautiful, and it's heartbreaking, and it's a lot of things. It's obviously very entertaining and interesting to watch how it plays out. The first time like we see the divorce papers and shit, I was quite taken aback because I'm like, I was not getting that vibe at all. Like, things are this bad, things are you're ending this. And then like I'd heard a lot of stuff about how like this relationship was the crux of the movie and stuff, which I don't think necessarily was the case, but it's clearly an important factor to it. And yeah, just the way it played out. I think that there was one beautiful line which I think probably shows up on like, you know, like Twitter edits on like people's ships and all that sort of stuff. But the line he says in the universe where they didn't get together, where she's the actress or whatever, but he says something to the effect of in another life I would have enjoyed doing laundry and taxes with you, or something like that. And that's just beautiful. That's just so, here we both are. I'm kind of successful, I guess, because I'm wearing a suit and I'm at a premiere. You're this amazing actress. We have these amazing lives, but what could have been in another world, we're just two people with hardly a penny to our name doing laundry and taxes, and that is everything to me. That's what I want. So yeah, that's such a beautiful line.
It's almost frustrating as well, because that line, like this movie is aggressively online. Like this, like, I mean, that's not a fault of the movie. I guess that's a fault of just kind of like the way I guess some people like treat the consumption of art and how they express it, I guess is something. I love that line. That's genuinely one of my favorite lines ever put on screen, and I think it's delivered in such an emotional way. It comes at the perfect point in the movie where it hits you like a fucking emotional train, and then just to see it absolutely everywhere for 10 months is I was so worried when it came up again when I watched it a second time that it was going to just take the meaning out. But I was crying again, and I was like, fuck. It's a testament to that. It's like, do you remember when WandaVision, which I still think is a great show, but do you remember when they had that one line about what is love,
grief,
if not love,
grief, if not love, persevering. Yeah.
A lovely quote, but do you remember how annoying everyone was about it?
yeah. Well, I that's one of the benefits, I think, and maybe sort of, I know Nathan, you said that it's not inaccessible, but I think that something about the overwhelming nature of it, sort of, it's confronting. And in the information age where we have so much shit thrown at us, to have a bunch of concentrated shit thrown at you and then pointing directly to a profound sense of meaning, then that's what we can use to communicate, and that's what's valuable about it at this point. So I see that totally effective, you know, and it's the overwhelming nature of it is not a hindrance, I don't think. Maybe to old people, but you know.
I'm kind of just like picturing my dad watching the scene where, you know, like if you watch this in a dark, like I watched it in the cinema, and then I also like shut my curtains to watch it, and I like was watching it in a dark space for both of them. And I'm just kind of picturing what it would look like to be a fly on the wall when my dad could be watching a moment like where the multiple Evelyns are getting to the point where like they must be on screen for less than like a fucking millisecond each and every one, like one frame maximum for like all of them. And it's like the amount of colors is there, the music is so overwhelmingly fucking loud, and the sound effects are so jarring. I'm just trying to picture a world where my dad looks at that and like has any other reaction other than perhaps a heart attack or something. Like,
So, I have a funny story about that, actually. My mom went to see this by herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, you have to tell me what you thought about this. And she had the funniest thought about it. For one, she was like, I was really surprised that all the kids kind of walked out of the theater and they were talking to each other, being like, I've got to go call my mom. She was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Which I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, well, because I know this. I know the meaning. That the meaning is something that I think about because I'm of the age of this character. And I've been through life and I've been through ups and downs. And the amount of time I've lived has given me this perspective that, you know, nothing matters, but everything does. And so when she reaches out to her daughter, I'm like, yeah, so that's how it works. It didn't really have an emotional impact. But what really got her was that she has still not gotten over hot dog fingers. As soon as that happened, it broke her in the cinema. And I don't know if it like disconnected her, but that was one thing she just could not read at all. And then all she was left with was a message, and it wasn't anything super profound to her because it's like the older generations, which is what's valuable about an older generation, is that they have all this experience and a perspective that we as younger people cannot have yet. We're not privy to that. And that was really interesting to me. How an older person can like, oh yeah, this is old news, but what the fuck, hot dog fingers? And that's kind of her big takeaway. I don't know. I think that adds weight to the generational thing, and why I think this movie is made for young people, and why you know an intelligent film made for young people doesn't come around very often. I'd like to bring attention just like to the idea of Wayman's sort of main thesis, I think, is that we have to be kind, especially when we don't know what's going on. Yeah. And that works for watching the movie, and it works for life, and that simple truth. As trite as it is, the movie is overwhelmed to the point where you're like, you're lulled into its sort of spell, and you understand the weight of that truth. That notion, I rarely see it expressed well. Yeah. You know, because it's so trite. But when you layer a bunch of shit on top of it, and then that's your solution, it's so much more profound.
For me, it helps me as the way in to this story because like when you watch it, it focuses on Wayman and Evelyn's relationship first, and then Joy is brought in to kind of serve from the second act through to the end. Once Wayman, because Wayman is heavily prominent in the first act rather than the back ends, and I think that how the movie communicates their relationship, and like how it's so clearly saying this is not about love, this is about the capacity, I think, for patience you can have for people, and how much time and energy you're willing to expend on someone, especially when they're not giving you what you want. Or what you think that you're like you deserve of, as maybe just respect levels, because there's moments in this where it's like it shows you divorce papers, and then Alpha Waymond comes in, who is a far more kind of like, I mean, it's not sly, like he's called Alpha Waymond for fuck's sake, like it's not fucking subtle. He is supposed to be Waymond at his...
The hot one.
Yeah, he's the sexy Waymond who's capable.
Sexy one.
But he's the sexy one that's capable and knowledgeable and very forthcoming when it comes to saying exactly what he wants and communicating clearly and she and Michelle Yeoh, Evelyn is very much like, this is a bit of me. I like this, and it's the movie is literally saying it's possible for these two work. Yeah. But just not in the beaten down circumstances that they find themselves in. And one thing I think communicates that so fucking well is there's... I don't even know if I'd call it like a motif. I think it's just a subtle focus in on certain distinct moments. Is Evelyn's wedding ring features quite a lot in this. And from a point of... The first scene where she accomplishes the fight, she verse jumps for the first time... and it's when Jamie Lee Curtis is doing the world's slowest fucking drop kick to her, and she's able to tap into the kung fu Evelyn, and take those skills. She protects Waymond, and it's instinctive, and it's the pressure of Waymond being in trouble that I think allows her to just get over the mental barrier of this is fucked. It's more just, I'm gonna protect him. And then you realise it's kind of a bit more complex than that, because she holds her hands up as if to say, like, I was capable of that. I was able to end that fight with just a simple kung fu move that I didn't know. And there's almost there's almost a tiny focus pull to the wedding ring and then to Wayman's face.
Oh my god.
And you get that moment.
Oh.
But then she, whilst you're focusing on the wedding ring, she then turns it. The wedding ring is obscured from the shot, and she's acknowledging her hands. And then the next thing she says to him is something along the lines of, "I saw my life without you. I wish you could have seen it. It was perfect," or something along those lines. and just the notion of, my life is so much better without you. I wish you could have seen it. I wanted you to share that experience with me.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a fucking beautiful. Like, it's a double negative, right? Like,
yeah,
it's insanely clever, and I just think that
I love that.
It's great, and there's another moment where the wedding ring comes back at some point. I made a note on it, but this movie's a lot. I don't know where the fuck that note is now.
For me, yeah, the structure of the film for me is like it goes from mundanity to absurdity, and then falls into toxic nihilism, and then the husband saves her with a true wisdom, and then she brings that back to joy.
Yeah,
that's it's like 4 parts.
Yeah.
For me. So next time you watch it, if you've only seen it once, people at home, just pay attention to that little arc. See sort of how the movie transforms into different things, and then it ends in love, and you're like, fuck. You know?
It's when she hugs him at the end. The other time that there's a prominent focus on the wedding ring is when Evelyn finally embraces Waymond. And
she's had it with her all along.
Yeah,
which is beautiful.
That is lovely.
And she sees 2 sexy Waymonds. There's 2 sexy Waymonds, and the one that she ends up hugging and being with and spending the most time with in the universe that she chooses to sort of exist in is the mundane one, the boring, happy one.
I think, I don't know. Maybe this is the cynic in me, but sexy Waymond did die. To be fair, so she's stuck for choice at a certain point.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Well, because she met sexy Waymond, and then she met actual sexy Waymond.
Yeah.
Who's hot businessman Juan Kar-wai Waymond.
And then she realized at the end that sexy Waymond was there all along. Maybe it's being nice that's being sexy, and maybe it's devolved into nonsense. I think, again, like I was saying, I don't think it's possible to sum up everything in this movie. I guess I wanted to ask you both, what's the best thing about this? What keeps you coming? Or what, Nathan? What will make you revisit this? Ben, what did you find on a rewatch that rocked your shit? Like, what's your highlights?
Well, what will make me watch it again is my obsessive need to understand things. So I'll just I'll want to go back.
Being inscrutable is a virtue of cinema.
I'll want to try and make sense of it and try and see if I can properly understand, follow, and figure it out. Probably won't be able to, but we'll give it a good shot. So yeah, I guess that's something.
Do I do everything? Can I say everything? I don't know. I think the main thing is kind of the hugs. Yeah. I would say maybe it's the hugs that really bring me in. That it focuses on this physical act that saves. It's a hug at the edge of reality. Each one of them, and the idea that a hug, that the turmoils we get into our interpersonal relationships feel like what we're going through. That it can feel as if we're traveling through universes and fighting against a great evil bagel. And it's going to consume everything in reality, and unless we save this one person, that's the weight, the way it analogizes the crushing weight of potential, almost losing someone, and the feeling that you've saved the world when you don't lose them.
Yeah,
that's the beating heart of the thing, and that's cinema to me, is sort of that feeling, you know.
Also, Raccacoonie.
Yes, Raccacoonie.
Raccacoonie as well.
All right, Nathan, hit me with that theme, please. Another happy question. Right, what I do is I ask Nathan and now Ben, who is here today, a question. It pertains to the thing that we're talking about. So today I asked them that in this we see a plethora of multiversal skill sets and alternate selves. And I basically asked them, what is the most plausible, ridiculous scenario that they might find alternate versions of themselves doing, living? Yeah, who wants to take it?
I'll go. There is a version of me, I think, out in the multiverse that is at this point a professional worship leader at a church.
Okay.
A cult
And
leader.
who's married, has kids, and is living a quiet life on the outskirts of Toronto. And all I do is just I'm like a church leader. That's definitely a
Okay. Is your
Okay.
it's just I never normally poke these. I like to accept them as they are, but I'm left with more questions. Is your what's the thesis of your church? Is it, standard Christianity stuff? What kind of
yeah, like I guess base evangelical.
Okay. Okay.
you know.
I like that. Go for it. Why not?
Yeah, probably a Baptist worship leader. That's probably what I'd be.
Okay, good. I'll come and visit you sometime in that multiverse, Ben.
Sure.
You can dunk me in a bath or whatever it is that they do. Nathan, how about you?
In the vast plethora of the universe, the multiverse, sorry, where literally anything and everything is possible, the most absurd thing I could think of for myself is a reality where I enjoyed Top Gun Maverick.
Fuck off. Fuck you.
So there we go.
I like this segment, Nathan, and I think you found the ultimate way to. I would be happy to never do another happy question again because you've soured it. It's become another miserable question now.
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, it's the multiverse. Anything can happen, and that's.
I'll give a second answer to I'll give a second answer to sub. When I was I think 7 or 8, I had a best friend, and we talked about that we wanted to open a car dealership together. We wanted to have a garage. So imagine me, muscly and greased up, working on cars, and I don't know a thing about movies. That's another version.
I think that version of you is looking more like season 1 Walter White. Like,
Yeah.
like washing cars, having a coughing fit. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully without the lung cancer is what I'll say. I hope that's not the fate for you out there in the multiverse. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this, new episodes go live every Friday at 10 a.m. You can give us a little review. Give us a little 5-star review. Let us know you like it. You can also follow us. We are on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Another Happy Pod. Give us a little follow there. Tell us what episodes you want to see us do. We'll most likely ignore those requests, but we like the engagement anyway, so that'll be fun. Next week, we're going to be doing this.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it. The Beatles.
Who?
John, Paul, George and Ringo, the Beatles.
Which Beatles is this? The insect Beatles or the car Beatles?
The pop group Beatles. Nick, help me out here.
Woohoo! The Beatles movie. We're going to be doing
Stop
that
doing
one.
that! Stop doing that! You always do
It's
that!
I know, look, it's the tease. I like to explain the tease in case they don't know.
You
And
don't
to be
need
fair,
to
that's an
explain it. That's the point of the tease. You don't need to explain it. If they don't know, that's on them.
Right, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Also, listen to Still Got Legs every Monday, 10 a.m.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Still got legs.